What's up, Razmanites? Welcome to another episode of the Razman's Reality, brought to you by Handi Enterprises Inc. and Geeky.com. Coming at you direct to YouTube upload style yet again because I have a full day and wanted to make sure that I got the 2014 Royal Rumble pay-per-view review out there. So, first match of the night saw Bray Wyatt defeat Daniel Bryan in an absolutely amazing matchup. I mean, this thing went back and forth. It was really psychological. Bray Wyatt sold the heck out of an injured knee, and Daniel Bryan went the heck after that injured knee. It was just an absolutely amazing match. Like I said, Bray Wyatt went over. I don't have a problem with that, despite what happened later in the night, and despite what didn't happen. But I'll get into that as the review comes to a close. Next up, it was Brock Lesnar versus The Big Show in a quote-unquote match. And I say that because the whole thing was Brock Lesnar just beat the living daylights out of Big Show with a steel chair and then picked him up, F5'd him, and the referee counted 3. I'm not exactly sure what the deal was with the referee counting 3 because I don't even remember the bell ringing. If the rest of you saw the pay-per-view out there that watched this review, tell me if the bell even rang. I might have to go back and rewatch it. I have it DVR'd. Yes, I actually broke down and gave my cable money one last time. And what I mean by that is, of course, WWE Network is coming, so we all get pay-per-views for a much cheaper price now and don't have to worry about other means beyond Elimination Chamber. But anyway, they suckered me in because it's the Royal Rumble and it's big pay-per-view every year and you don't want spoilers. So, yeah. So I may have to go back and rewatch that spot is what I'm saying, but I don't think I even heard a bell ring. But the referee did count 3 after an F5 to the Big Show. And what I take out of that whole thing was that they're making Brock Lesnar look like an unbeatable, unstoppable force. And I think the reason behind that is because they want him to look like a really strong, viable contender for The Undertaker and the Streak at Mania, if that's the way they go. The Undertaker has 3 really strong, viable opponents. Brock Lesnar, Daniel Bryan, and Sting. And yes, Sting is going to happen. Unless all these reports are wrong, I don't ever put anything on my channel that hasn't had concrete backup. And so many people are still saying Sting to the WWE isn't going to happen. This is pretty much done, other than the fact that we haven't seen Sting on WWE television. So if it doesn't happen now, I will be shocked. But yeah, I think Brock Lesnar is one of 3 viable opponents for Undertaker at WrestleMania against the Streak. So I think that's part of the reason why he looked so strong last night and why it wasn't really a match per se. John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. First time that the WWE World Heavyweight Championship has ever been defended, and taking the crowd out of that, we're going to get into that in a second, but taking the crowd out of that equation, this was actually one of the better matches that the two have had. And I do think it went on a little bit too long. I don't think it was necessary to see all of the finishers used. We saw, except for the punt, which was attempted still, but we saw the STF used by Cena, we saw the AA used by Cena, we saw the RKO used by Orton, we saw a punt attempted by Orton, we saw the RKO used by Cena, we saw the AA used by Orton. So that was a little bit of an overkill in my opinion, but it was a very well told match, and John Cena, but more so Randy Orton, really knew that the crowd wasn't into the match. They were chanting boring, 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 and chanting, Daniel Bryan, Daniel Bryan, Daniel Bryan, the whole entire match. So Randy Orton played it off really well, got in the crowd's face that you should be chanting my name, got up in the middle of the match and did a spot with his pose. So if that wasn't all scripted, John Cena and Randy Orton did a really good job of making it work within the confines of the match. So if you're upset about the match, if you didn't want to see the match because you had other things on your mind last night, if you have an opportunity, go back and actually watch the match itself, because I actually enjoyed it simply because Randy Orton and John Cena had so much to overcome as far as the crowd not giving an absolute crap about the match until the ending, because the ending saw the Wyatt family come out and the arena, of course, goes dark, allowing Randy Orton to hit an RKO and get a clean 1, 2, 3 to retain the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And then the Wyatts just absolutely destroy John Cena. So it's going to be the Wyatts versus John Cena now going forward. So I'm really looking forward to that feud. And then, of course, the 30-man over the top rope Royal Rumble match. Your surprise entrants this year were Kevin Nash, Sheamus, if you can call that a surprise entrant, though I don't know of anybody who didn't see that coming, but he still got a huge pop. And the entry, quote unquote, of JBL, who simply walked in the ring, told Michael Cole to take off his coat, and then got eliminated by Roman Reigns. The final two participants in the Rumble were... Actually, before I get into that, let me talk about this. The 30th entrant was Rey Mysterio. And a lot of people, including myself, I'll freely admit it, I've been a champion for this for months, and my buddy Luke Ryan especially tried to remind me that it just wasn't going to happen, but I tried to be optimistic. I just felt, especially after Bray Wyatt beat Daniel Bryan cleanly in the opening match, I just felt like Daniel Bryan was going to enter the Royal Rumble at 30. So when Rey Mysterio came out at 30, I have never seen a crowd turn on a guy so fast. I mean, they were just all over Rey Mysterio, and they cheered when Rey Mysterio got eliminated. Nobody wanted to see Rey Mysterio in that spot. Everybody was determined that Daniel Bryan was going to be the 2014 Royal Rumble winner. And because he wasn't, I'm going to get into how WWE saves face with him in a minute. But let's just focus on what actually did happen. The Royal Rumble match itself comes down to Batista and Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns went full on face in this match. They've been teasing it. Roman Reigns broke Kane's record for, and speaking of Kane, I'm going to get into that in a minute too, because that's another thing I think that's come out of the Royal Rumble, is a definite feud for CM Punk. But Roman Reigns breaks Kane's record, eliminates a record, I think it's 12, maybe 13, but it's the record number of participants now for eliminations for one man in the Royal Rumble. I mean, he just went absolutely insane, including eliminating both Ambrose and Rollins, pretty much putting it into the Shield in the match. It was absolutely fan-freaking-tastic, and the crowd wanted Roman Reigns over Batista last night in Pittsburgh. They really, truly did. And Batista wins, and like I said that I'd never seen a crowd turn on anybody faster than they did Rey Mysterio. They did the same thing to Batista. As soon as it became clear that Daniel Bryan wasn't going to come out and Batista was the actual winner of the match, the crowd just was all over him. They hated every second of it, and I don't blame them. Excuse me one second, my screen just went black. But yeah, I don't blame them at all for turning on Batista because this was predictability and this is not what should have happened. So there were a couple of things that happened last night that kind of had me scratching my head. Number one, Kane enters the Royal Rumble match, and Kane is supposed to be the director of operations. Now, I firmly believe that this is all to further the fact that CM Punk is right, and CM Punk is going to face Triple H at WrestleMania. So, I'm not really surprised that Kane came out to do the authorities' dirty work. What I thought was going to happen, and how I thought WWE was going to save face, and why this is perplexing, is that Triple H, or probably Stephanie McMahon, because Triple H is going to go on and play a full-on heel against CM Punk at Mania. But I thought Stephanie McMahon was going to come out and say that Kane had no authority, no pun intended, from the authority to be in the Royal Rumble match, that he took a spot from another man, and that man is now going to be allowed to enter the Royal Rumble. And I thought Daniel Bryan was going to come out and eliminate Batista. So that didn't happen, so I'm a little bit perplexed by that. But yeah, Punk versus Triple H is a definite for Mania. Now, there is two scenarios that can save Daniel Bryan, and if they do either one of these, it's not so bad that Daniel Bryan did not win the Royal Rumble. If neither one of these happen, and Daniel Bryan just becomes a mid-card match at Mania, then I pretty much have lost all hope, and everything that WWE is creative has done in the last year and a half to get better will be for nothing. But there are two scenarios for Daniel Bryan. One, or actually three. I'll make a third just because I can. And we'll talk about the third because I think it's the least likely. The third would be that my scenario that I just talked about actually comes to fruition on Raw tonight, and because Daniel Bryan didn't get his Royal Rumble entry spot, he faces Batista one-on-one tonight and beats him for the right to go to WrestleMania. So that's the third scenario. Second scenario is that Daniel Bryan becomes the opponent for The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30. And it's been heavily rumored that Undertaker does want to face Daniel Bryan at Mania. So if that happens and Daniel Bryan is the guy in the street match, I don't think anyone's going to be upset, because that's about as high profile as anyone can possibly be at Mania, not wrestling for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. That's the only other spot at Mania that's truly considered a main event spot. So if that happens, that's all good. And of course, the first scenario, the last scenario that I didn't talk about, would be the Elimination Chambers coming up. Daniel Bryan gets in the Elimination Chamber and wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship from Orton at Elimination Chamber. Because no matter what happens now, Batista's going to have to work hard to save face if he's actually going to go into a match with Orton at Mania. So there are a lot of scenarios for Daniel Bryan, so I don't think WWE is going to make Daniel Bryan irrelevant. I still want to give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll have to wait and see what actually comes to fruition in the next few weeks as far as what Daniel Bryan is going to do at Mania. So overall, I give the pay-per-view about a very generous 6 out of 10 stars. It was very predictable, and I didn't like that about it. I was hoping that it would not be as predictable as it was. Let me know what you think in the comment box down below, or tell me to check out your Royal Rumble pay-per-view review, and I'll be happy to do so. Full screen referral link along with company contact information, of course, down below in the description box. This is reality according to the Razman, and Razman style is not just a catchphrase but a way of life.